Hey guys, so today I'm gonna be looking at creepy things that happen while alone in the house. So yeah, let's just get right into the video. I got up around 2 a.m. and I don't really remember the exact time, but it was past midnight. I saw a figure in the hallway, like a silhouette. I couldn't see their face, but I could swear it was looking at me. I went back to my room, took a breather, went out again, and it was still there. I closed my eyes and shook my head, looked back, it was gone. I went to the washroom because I felt like I was going to piss myself. And when I got out to go back to my room, the figure was in front of my room looking at me. I closed my eyes and reopened them. It was gone. I never saw it again. What? Yo, I would piss myself too. I'm about to cry right now. Okay, like I have a hallway. And if I saw the figure at the end of my hallway and then I close my eyes and open it and it's gone and then I go to the bathroom. Hold on a second. Honestly though, I wouldn't go to the bathroom after seeing that. I would just go back in my room and hide. If I went to the bathroom and then I was like running back to my room and then it was just there looking back at me, yo, that is creepy. At least it didn't have a face, so you can't really remember the details, so it's just like a dark silhouette. It's just a shadow. You irrelevant. Please don't come for me. When I was a teenager, I lived in my father's basement. He would frequently go on business trips and I would be alone in the house for up to a week at a time. One evening in spring, I was up alone watching TV at around 2 a.m. when I heard through the open windows what sounded like two distinct sets of footsteps outside, walking from the front yard around the side and into the backyard where they stopped. It was then that I realized that since all my lights were on, I couldn't look outside, but from outside you could see me. You can turn the lights off. That's what I always do. Like when I feel like someone's outside, I turn all my lights off and then I look out the window. I immediately panicked, shutting off my TV and lights. So now I was alone in my basement, with no lights on, with what I thought were two prowlers sitting on my back deck. I don't know how long I was frozen in the darkness, but after I didn't hear any more sounds for a while, I quietly crept upstairs to try to get a better look into my backyard. Thankfully, all the lights upstairs were already off. Unfortunately, with the way the bushes and patio umbrella were set up, there were large blind spots where it sounded like those footsteps stopped. I considered calling 911, but then when my father would inevitably find out, I knew I'd be forced to stay with my aunt when he went out of state. So I stared at that deck, waiting to see movement for at least 10 minutes before I began convincing myself that my mind was playing tricks on me. Wait, they couldn't call 911 because they were scared if their dad found out they would be forced to stay at their aunt. But why would a dad get mad? Like, it's not their fault that someone's about to rob the house, you know? I decided to go investigate outside. You're kidding me! I grabbed the closest thing to a weapon I could, an old shepherd's axe, went out of my front door and crept around the side of my house, crouching behind a bush. I finally mustered the courage to swing the axe into the bush and shout, "Hey!" Nothing would happen, right? No one would be there, and I'd have a good laugh. An embarrassed one when I realized I was just being paranoid. Instead, I immediately heard the sound of a deck chair scraping on wood and two sets of human footsteps running off into the opposite direction. My heart stopped. I felt like I blacked out for a second from the adrenaline rush. I ran back around the side of my house in the direction I came. What was I to do? There was no time to think. I made it to my front door, swung it open, rushed inside, slammed it shut, and stood there in the darkness, practically hyperventilating. I stared out into the street, waiting to see someone leaving their property, but no one did. It was then that I realized that now I wasn't safe inside my house like I thought I would be. I was trapped. No. I ran out the front door into the middle of the street where I could scream if I saw someone. Surely by now I should have called the cops, but I wasn't thinking clearly anymore, if I ever was. Now I was facing my house, but I still didn't see anyone. So I glanced to the left down the street. Nothing. Then I looked right. Two male figures were walking away from me, a block and a half down the street. Just as I noticed them, they turned left at the T-junction onto the main road and disappeared out of sight. For some reason, I ran after them. Why would you chase after them? When I turned that corner, no one was there. There should have been nowhere to go, and they would have only made it about half a block if they were just walking. They must have had a car waiting there. I was 13. What just happened? Honestly though, this kid is doing too much. Like, if I thought they were inside my house and then I ran out and then I saw them outside my house like a street away, I would run back inside my house and lock all the doors because I know they're not in my house anymore. I would not run after them. But honestly though, it sounds like those two people were even more scared than the little boy. So, did they want to rob the house? What do they want to do? Man, I can't believe he went outside of his house to investigate. What was the point of that? I'm just like dumbfounded because you know there were two people trying to get inside your house, but then you go outside. That doesn't make sense to me. When I was about 10 years old, I was at home when my mum went to the shops. I had been in the sitting room watching television before deciding I wanted a drink and headed to the kitchen. From the door of the kitchen, I saw the tall, thin outline of a man outside of my back door and could see the doorknob turn. He put his hand through the cat flap but was unable to reach the door. He went after a few minutes, so I removed the key from the back door and put it on the kitchen table. I sat on the stairs in front of the front door until my mum got back, terrified. Imagine witnessing someone trying to break into your house, but you don't know what to do. Like, I don't know, go hide or something. Honestly, I don't know. I feel like if he tried to reach through the cat flap, I would go there and try to kick his hand, you know? Oh no, but what if he grabs your foot? Jeez. You don't know what you would do unless you're in that situation yourself, because it's so easy to just talk about it, but it's really different when you're in it at that moment. One day, while doing my laundry, one of my lights blew out in my basement. My basement is set up so that the laundry room is split from the other side of the basement with a wall and a door. In order to get upstairs, you have to exit the laundry room and go through the other part of the basement. Since there was only light on one side, it was pretty dark. I finished the laundry I had to do while dreading the walk through the dark basement. I exited the laundry room and got halfway through the basement when I heard a loud cackle. Imagine a sound people make when they imitate a witch. Take that and imagine that the witch had been smoking for 50 years, making her voice deeper and hoarser. Yo, okay. This is what I heard, clear as day, right behind me. What did it say? Okay. I did not look or hesitate. I bolted for the stairs. I waited until my father got home and then changed the bulb. I have yet to hear that cackle since, and I have not told a single person in the house about it. Why not? My mum has mine and my siblings framed senior pictures on a shelf. As the middle child, mine was staggered behind the other two. My family left on a trip, but I had to stay back and work. A few hours after they left, there was a smashing sound. I went into the room and saw my frame lying in the middle of the room with its glass everywhere. I don't know what made it fall, especially that hard, or how it fell without knocking over the other pictures. What the? Isn't that like a sign? Like if you're superstitious, you would think if something like this happened, something went wrong or something, right? I've been reading too many gut feeling stories. I was house sitting for my parents who live in the actual middle of nowhere. The closest neighbor they have is about a mile away. My parents had taken the dogs with them on vacation to the beach, so it was an eerie and silent house to be in. It was the kind of quiet where you wouldn't want to turn off the TV, or you would be faced with nothing but the eerie sound of your breath and footsteps. On one completely pitch black night, void of any moon, I stepped on the back porch for a quick smoke before bed. As I reached the bottom of the steps, I pulled out a cigarette from the pack and fumbled for my lighter. As I flicked the wheel, the glow of the small flame briefly lit up my surroundings. In the few seconds it took my brain to process the dimly lit image, I realized that I just had momentarily seen some massive brown-haired, four-legged beast eating from one of my dog's bowls by the steps leading from the porch into the house. And I do mean massive. Twice the size of me at least. Yo, what the heck? This is like a horror movie. What's going on? Covered in some dirty, brown, human-like hair from front to back. I didn't make out its head, but I knew from the glimpse of its torso that it was something I've never seen in the wild. Maybe it was a bear. As I stood there in fear from what was standing not 3 feet away from me, unseen in the blackness of night, it let out some kind of deep, guttural grunt and plods off into the woods, shaking the porch as it runs away, leaving me scared, shaking in the pitch black dark with a still unlit cigarette hanging from my mouth. What? Needless to say, I ran inside, turned on every light, and hid in the most interior room of the house, like any grown adult man would. My brain couldn't process what it might be, but my imagination was filling in all the blanks with whatever scary beast could be lurking out in the woods, just a few feet from my parents' back door, waiting to eat me. A couple weeks later, I finally found out there were some reports that some of the giant feral pigs had moved onto my parents' land. No giant scary monster thing, just some overgrown hairy pig looking for a meal. Oh, no wonder why it shook the poor. I was in middle school and my parents were out. I put in a new CD I hadn't listened to yet. I fall asleep on the couch. I wake up to someone loudly whispering, "There's someone in your house," repeatedly. It was just one of those stupid hidden tracks on the CD that played after an hour of silence. But I don't think the cats ever recovered from the noises I made waking up to that, not knowing where the noise was coming from. That is mean. Can you imagine buying a CD just to listen to it peacefully and fall asleep? And while you fell asleep, this plays, waking you up when all you wanted to do was sleep. Why? Why would you put that in a CD? Why would you put that at the end of the CD, you know? There's someone in your house. There's someone in your house. My dad loves to whistle, something I do a lot too. When he comes home, I often know it because he mostly enters the house whistling. Anyway, I was alone in the house in my room. I can't remember where the rest of my family was, but I know I was waiting for my dad to arrive home from work first. I was doing something on the computer, and I heard whistling in the living room. I figured I just didn't hear the door opening. The whistling continued, and after a while, I got up to say hello. Yeah, nobody there. Door locked, gate locked. The whistling stopped when I was on my way from my room to the living room though. This is why, for me, I feel like whistling is just scary. Honestly, I find whistling scary because it has something to do with a ghost story that my brother told me when I was a kid. When I was a young kid, I was home alone while my mum took my sister to school. After about 15 minutes, I heard the front door unlock, door open, and footsteps. They went into the kitchen but were very slow and heavy footsteps. I assumed it was my mum but thought it sounded weird for her. Normally she calls out when she gets home and she's a slim woman. This sounded like a big built guy with boots on. Yo, you know, yeah. You can tell if it's your family's footsteps or not. Because when I was a kid, I knew like whose footsteps it was. Like if it was my brother, my mum, my dad, I knew who was walking around the house. Okay. So I called out and the footsteps stopped, dead silence. I freaked out and grabbed our dog from outside and hid in a corner. A short while later, my mum really did come home, and I told her about it and that I didn't hear them leave. However, the door was still locked. The windows were locked, and there wasn't a single sign anyone had entered. Not even a mark on the carpet from a shoe. To this day, I have no idea what happened. This is what happened. There's someone living in your house. There were so many stories like this. Seriously, like footsteps, they came out because they thought no one was home and they wanted to get some food or something. But then you called out to them and that's why they froze and they're like, oh, I'm about to get caught. No, I don't know. But honestly though, the only logical reason is that someone is secretly living in your house. That's all. Well, that's it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Tell me in the comments down below what your thoughts are. And as always, thanks for watching. Hope you guys liked it and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!